Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
Hello all, and how you guys all doing tonight? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and for the first time for a few weeks, this is my review of this past week's episode of Monday Night Raw. It was the July 14th, 2025 episode of Raw that took place in Birmingham, Alabama. We are falling out from Evolution and Saturday night's main event, and we are now on the road to SummerSlam 2025. The first two-night SummerSlam ever for WWE. And we had to kind of like get the gears in motion very quickly, because let's face it, well, a nitpick on WWE right now. That's a problem I've been having with these past couple of pay-per-views, and might also be why I've experienced some burnout recently. There's a lot of shows in wrestling right now just being clumped together. And although, WWE, whenever they have the next show, they're focused on that next show, sometimes these shorter builds make things feel kind of rushed and not quite as interesting, if I'm being honest. Like, no offense, SummerSlam, the first two-night SummerSlam, which I still think, in my opinion, does not need to be 2 nights. WrestleMania still should be the only show that should be 2 nights. If you make like all these other shows 2 nights, WrestleMania is not going to have that special feel it is going to be every year when it happens. Just my opinion, to be honest. But SummerSlam especially, you should have had some more long-term build. Like, again, the women at Evolution, as I mentioned in my review, that I was starting to get tired during, the women had their backs to the wall with Evolution, and they knocked it out of the park. Unreal, and it was amazing. Again, probably the best show of the year so far, I would say, in wrestling. But like SummerSlam especially, you gotta have some long-term build, and we really haven't, to be honest. Some of the matches being set up, though, are interesting. I'm not gonna deny that. Some stuff, I'm not sure about. Because, let me tell you this, I would say for this episode of Raw, the Gauntlet match and what happened at the very end of the show, which you see right here in the background picture, to me, kind of saved the show. Because if it wasn't for that, I would say this would be like an average to decent Raw. Because there was a little bit of inconsistencies in this show. A couple things I like, though. But some of the things I'm not sure if I agree with this decision. Like, Bayley's not going to be wrestling for the women's IC title at SummerSlam. I'm sorry, I really thought that. Like, what's the point of doing Lyra and Becky again? Like, what's really the story? I felt like they should have moved on to Becky and Bayley and Lyra going heel. Because again, Lyra's got it in the ring right now. She was definitely a part of one of the best matches of the year for sure at Evolution. But again, character-wise, she still needs work. And the more you book her like this, where she's getting all these opportunities and overshadowing like where the true story should be going there, because there is a story with Becky and Bayley right now, you're going to make people realize that, you're just shoving her down our throats and we're not going to care. Unless, of course, it's WWE doing it on purpose to, one, put more sympathy on Bayley, and then get the heat built on Lyra to eventually turn her heel. But who knows? But, we're going to get rolling, because I am going to try to record both my Raw and SmackDown reviews tonight to catch up. Again, as I said in my double review of Evolution and Saturday night's main event, I recently had to cut back on some things right now. So So I did decide to cut back on my Adobe Suite subscription. So that's why, again, I only have Adobe Premiere right now. So so yeah, my graphics are going to look a little bit cheaper again for a little bit, but again, it is what it is. Again, I will be making some similar to ones that I had before with all the champions. I just need the time to sit down and actually do them. And with how busy this summer has been for me so far, I haven't had the chance, really. But of course, that subscription was canceled a week ago, so I haven't had the chance to do so. So I'm going to try to play a little bit of catch up tonight. So of course, with me recording these and trying to keep them brief, but effective, of course, we will of course get things accomplished. So anyways, again, sorry I toned down a little bit. I was getting a little bit loud. My son's trying to sleep upstairs, so I should have been a little bit quieter, and I do apologize. But anyways, to roll into this week's episode of Raw. So we opened up with the new Women's World Champion, Naomi. I still cannot believe she cashed in on the Raw as World Champion at Evolution, but it was still awesome. And again, that main event was indeed a classic. I'm trying to decide which match was better, that one or the triple threat at Mania. Whichever one was better, I have no idea. But both of those, I would say, may be my candidates for a match of the year. I would say either one of those two, or maybe the men's triple threat with Punk, Roman, and Seth. With the storytelling aspect, of course, in that match, definitely making it crazier. But, we'll, of course, get to that towards the end of the year. But, of course, Naomi came out. The crowd chant, "You deserve it." But Naomi, being the heel, she's like, no, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. You ain't giving me that. And you're not going to act like you never seen this coming. Y'all thought I was going to cash on Tiffany, but you'll never know my next move until I make it. And she says she's done with the foolishness on SmackDown. She tells Bianca to take a cold, hard look because she didn't betray her. She outgrew her. And she and Jade really didn't really want Naomi to succeed, but look at her now. And Jade may have gone the upper hand, but she made history, and now she's on Raw, and she strongly advised anyone in that locker room to proceed with caution. Which brings out Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, who both basically want a piece of Naomi, but Naomi's like, nah, get to the back of the line, whatnot. And then Adam Pearce comes out and announces a triple threat at SummerSlam with Naomi, Io, and Rhea. Which, again, we'll see where this goes. We all know right now that Stephanie Vaquer, not Vaquay, as Nikki Bella mispronounced it, Vaquer, won the Battle Royale at Evolution, and she will be getting a title shot, probably for the world title, since she's technically a Raw superstar. Although right now they're doing some random appearances from other stars on opposing brands, like Stephanie Vaquer tonight was on SmackDown. I don't know why. There's really no story behind it, but whatever. So again, I hope that there's no inconsistencies with the brand split again. But once again, if that's the case, do a draft. Something. Or like LA Knight being on Raw more often. Just trade him to Raw and announce that. It'll make it simple and make sense. But who knows? But I don't know where exactly this is going with Naomi as champion. Although I love that she's champion as a swerve. I just don't want it to be like it was in 2021 when Nikki Cross cashed in just so she can eat a pinfall victory at SummerSlam to protect both Charlotte and Rhea. But I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm still hoping. So a lot of people are saying, and I myself too, was very impressed at Evolution with Lash Legend's performance in the Battle Royale, and she was the runner-up. So people are pitching the idea, would they call up Lash and have her be Naomi's muscle? Which honestly could work, because I personally still think Bianca Belair needs to turn heel at SummerSlam and be part of, maybe like cost Jade the match or something like that, and reveal that she was, even though it was Naomi who attacked her, she was still involved, and basically Bianca will win the title eventually. And it's like both her and Naomi have taken over the women's division some way, somehow. Which I think that could be an interesting route to go with it. But we'll see. Again, I just don't want Naomi to be a transitional champion. That's the only thing I'm asking for. So we'll see what happens there, but that's all set up. Judgment Day was backstage. Finn had just polished off all their belts and gives it back to them. They congratulate also Raquel and Roxanne, as they were allowed to give Roxanne the titles, but they had to prove themselves, and they did at Evolution. Dominik Mysterio, of course, claims he still has his doctor's note and that he still doesn't have to defend his title right now. But then Finn asked Dom to escort the women to the ring to get ready for their match against the Kabuki Warriors. So they do in fact do that. And Raquel and Roxanne, in a fine match, do beat the Kabuki Warriors. It was announced on SmackDown tonight that they're going to be doing Raquel and Roxanne defend the titles against Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam. Okay, I guess it's the only team they didn't pin yet, I guess, is the story they could be going with. I don't know, because at Evolution, they did pin Sol Ruka, so that eliminates the NXT team. Now, on Raw this week, they did pin the Kabuki Warriors, which eliminates Raw's team. So I guess the only other team that's really there for the fight is Alexa and Charlotte, which I'll talk about them a little bit more when I get to my SmackDown review, hopefully later on tonight. Backstage, Paul Heyman was being interviewed with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, asking for an update on Seth Rollins' knee injury, who says that Seth has until next June to cash in, so his health isn't a relevant subject right now. What's relevant, though, is Braun Breaker going to run the Gauntlet and beat Gunther at SummerSlam, which they did have a nice segment with Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, and Gunther really hyping up Braun and made him look good before, of course, his great performance in the Gauntlet match later on in the show, which was very well done. As of now, though, there still is no solid update on Seth Rollins' knee injury from Saturday night's main event, where we were in Birmingham for Raw this week. He was there as well, getting doctors to look at his leg. And apparently, they've said something. The latest update I've heard is Seth Rollins said on some interview that apparently there's too much swelling or something for them to tell exactly what's going on, which I find a little bit strange. So, a lot of people are speculating, is Seth really hurt? Which I believe he's hurt. Again, that knee is the same knee he has injured countless times over the past 10 years. So I do believe he's hurt. But the question is how severe the injury is. Honestly, he could be gone for a couple of months. I would say, to be honest, if Seth was not hurt, and of course because of the winner of the main event with the Gauntlet match, I would have said Seth was going to cash that SummerSlam after the winner of the Gauntlet match beats Gunther. Just my opinion, which we'll get to, of course, him shortly as well, and go from there. But now, of course, that could be put on hold. But of course, interesting fact enough too is if Seth is going to be out for long term, do you take Money in the Bank off him? Because Heyman is right. Technically, he has until next June to cash in. You would think, though, that if they knew for sure he's going to be out for a long term, they would have taken the briefcase off of him. But since they mentioned that, they may not. But we'll see where it goes. But that, of course, was all mentioned there. Lyra Valkyria, again, did beat Bayley in a number one contenders 2 out of 3 falls match, and she'll get another shot at Becky Lynch at SummerSlam. Now, we're not going to deny that Becky and Lyra have had some excellent one-on-one matches this year, and of course, even the triple threat match again at Evolution was probably my second favorite match of the show, and definitely right now maybe in the top 5 for a match of the year candidate in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, that's awesome, but I still again really felt we've already seen Lyra versus Becky how many times? Why are we doing Becky versus Bayley when that's where the true story is? But instead, we're just going to do Lyra and Becky again. I don't know how I feel about that. Because if they're going to basically just give the title back to Lyra, just go back to doing what she was doing before she feuded with Becky and got that title, then that's kind of boring, won't lie. Again, I myself and many other people have mentioned before, Lyra has it in the ring. She's excellent in the ring. It's the character that's just not clicking right now with the fans. But it's starting to get to a point where we're starting to feel like they're kind of forcing her on us. Like, it's a project that Triple H is very focused on, making Lyra Valkyria another star. Which, again, I know she could be. She's got to work on her character. And again, I still think she should go heel and form an alliance with Becky. And have them feud with Bayley. That's what I would have done. But we're getting Becky and Lyra again. Okay. Where this goes next, I don't know. Oh, but of course, it can't be. Well, first, we also had a video package with Karrion Kross talking about Sami Zayn lying about being hurt. And I guess the other week, whenever he attacked Sami on Raw after he lost to him at Night of Champions, that was a way to write off Sami Zayn for now. So when Sami's going to be back, I don't know. I just going to keep hoping that the storyline does lead Karrion Kross to a serious push. There was also a backstage where, for some reason, Chelsea Green and the Secret Harvest were on Raw, and they demanded that they should get that Chelsea should get the title shot in Paris. But then Stephanie Vaquera shows up and tells her to take a hike. But Chelsea says she's wrestling a Hall of Famer tonight. So now she can look, but she can't touch. Making reference to Nikki Bella. So we had a match that I would have been okay with having at, well, I predicted to have at Evolution, but kind of glad they didn't because this match was not that good. Chelsea Green versus Nikki Bella. I just really feel like, again, I continue to say this, nothing against the Bella twins. But again, they're not as big of pioneers to this whole transition with women's wrestling, this whole impact that they claim that she's had on these women. She's paved the way for people like Io Sky. Like, when you get that big of a hype, you should be able to show it in the ring. Again, for crying out loud, Trish Stratus is 49 years old. Somehow, she's still putting on fantastic matches. A match like this, again, just still shows that although Nikki Bella does have her talents, she's not some pillar in the women's division as they hype her up to be. Because this match, it was not that great, if I'm being real. Again, I know both women are more so like character gimmicks, but like there was just surprising the chemistry was very off in this. And then Nikki won with a TKO, but she botched the TKO as well, which was a little bit embarrassing. After the match, the rest of the Secret Harvest attacked Nikki, but then Stephanie Vaquera makes the save. And I'm like, don't tell me we're going to do Stephanie Vaquera versus Nikki Bella at SummerSlam. But now I'm hearing rumors, and I'm probably going to put on my predicted card, that it's going to be Stephanie Vaquera and the Bella twins versus the Secret Harvest. Because they also had Stephanie fight Alba Fire on SmackDown tonight. Which I was just like, whatever. It's a way to get Stephanie on the card since she's going to be getting a title match at Clash of Paris. It's just another kind of way to give her some more pay-per-view experience. So, you know, that's fine with me, whatever. But, yeah, the match with Nikki and Chelsea, unfortunately, it did not go over so well. New Day are demanding for getting their tag titles back. But Pierce tells them they'll have a chance to earn the title match next week. And for some reason, again, Grayson Waller still chilling with them. Like, why are they having Grayson Waller chill with the New Day with no rhyme or reason, and Austin Theory's nowhere to be seen? I don't know why that, where that came from and whatnot, but yeah, that's just weird. I love this. So, Pierce then sees Dominik Mysterio after dealing with the New Day. And they go back and forth and informs Dom that he's scheduled to be reevaluated next week, which Dom's worried that his doctor excuse will no longer be valid. And the second he's cleared, he's going to defend the IC title against AJ Styles, which just looks like it's going to happen at SummerSlam. And when Dom goes to walk away, he finds AJ Styles in the middle of the room, just like begging God and praying that Dom gets cleared. It was hilarious. And of course, it looks over, sees Dom, goes, I see you. It's like, just, it's a goofball type storyline, but again, it's actually pretty funny. But yeah, AJ just like begging to God, and I thought that was hilarious. So we had that in there. Gunther came out before. First we had Rusev have a backstage segment, saying basically saying how he's better than Sheamus in every way, and then the Celtic Warrior arrives behind him and says he spoke to Adam Pearce. They got a rematch between them, which I think is next week. Although I would love, honestly, if they could somehow get this feud to SummerSlam. It'd be a pretty solid, underrated addition for the card, Sheamus versus Rusev, but we'll see. Of course, Gunther came out before the main event Gauntlet match, and he said he was in a good mood because he retired Bill Goldberg, and basically he's saying he's not afraid of whoever's next. But then again, Paul Heyman came out with Braun Breaker, and Paul basically just hyped up Braun Breaker. And he just zoomed through everybody as far as he beat Penta, he beat LA Knight, he also beat main event Jey Uso, which again, I'm concerned Jey Uso is getting Big E'd, meaning that, you know, they're starting to just push back on him, and eventually they're going to just throw him back with Jimmy with like no rhyme or reason whatsoever, and that's the end of his singles push. I hope that doesn't happen to Jey, but I'm starting to worry that it is. But of course, Jey had lost because of outside interference from Bronson Reed. So then, whenever it came down to Braun Breaker and CM Punk, Jey Uso went out and helped fend it off for them. Punk was still able to sneak in a victory, hitting the GTS on Braun, and he is going to face Gunther for the world title at SummerSlam. But then afterwards, they're all beating down Punk. Jey came out to make the save. They beat him down in 2. Just when it seemed bleak, we had the return of the OTC, Roman Reigns, who made his return and just took everybody out, helped up Jey, kind of gave a little bit of a nod to Punk, but it looks like, of course, because we're getting Punk and Gunther at SummerSlam, I'm assuming since Seth is hurt, we're going to get Roman and Jey versus Braun and Bronson. Which, honestly, if you're doing that match, have, like, Braun Breaker pin Roman to win the match. Don't just have Jey in there to eat the pin. That is ridiculous. And Braun and Bronson, especially if Seth's going to be out for a little bit, could really use that victory. So that'd be cool, of course, if they went ahead and went with that. And that basically was Raw. Again, not a lot happened. A lot of time got taken up because of that Gauntlet match. Again, with the Roman returning and how well the Gauntlet match put over Braun, I'm going to give this show a B. A B, I think, works well. I almost gave it like a C+, but like I said, like the last part, I think they really elevated the show to another level. So Raw gets a B for me this week. What are you guys' thoughts on Raw for this week? You guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. And be sure also, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well, the Club of the Man 93. You may also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. Until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you guys all later and have a great rest of your night. And do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just a pain, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!